to ladies fishing and also about being inclusive, not exclusive, about the next generation with children and looking after the well-being of the next generation. And I think one of the things that leads in very nicely is to the well-being of the mind. And I think it's been proven that being out on the water is very good for the mind. And I think it's great to have David here from Tackling Minds to come forward and explain what Tackling Minds is about and his direct experience and how fishing has been so important to him. Thank you.
Thank you, Ross. Cheers, guys. Yeah, so first, who is Tackling Minds? So we're a pioneering mental health organisation that gives people free access to the proven mental benefits of fishing. We get people out into nature, support personal development and actively encourage conversations around mental health. Now, before I delve into Tackling Minds, I think it's important that I give you an insight into my own struggles with my mental health and addiction issues and the reasons how I went on or why I went on to set up Tackling Minds. So I suppose just like a lot of people in today's society, let's rewind 20 years ago, I used to go out with my family, with my friends, have a few drinks, and unfortunately for me, I should say, it was never a few drinks. Drank a lot more than most people. That eventually went on. I started taking recreational drugs at weekend, something I'm not proud of, but something that has shaped me today. And again, one of the reasons why I set up Tackling Minds. That had a detrimental effect on my mental health to the point where I couldn't get out of the house, I couldn't socialise. I was literally crippled with anxiety to the point that I just hit a real rock bottom and I didn't know how to get out of it. And for me at that time, my only coping mechanism was picking up a drink. It was a shot of whiskey, it was a shot of vodka, whatever it may be. It wasn't about the taste. It was just so I could function like a normal human being, literally get out of the house. Eventually that escalated to the point where I was doing it daily, to get through the week. And eventually that led to addiction, physical addiction, really struggled in and out of, periods of abstinence and falling back into that trap again. And that ultimately led me into my first alcohol detox. For those that don't know what a detox is, it's when you're under medical supervision and they give you medication to safely withdraw, because some of you may not know that alcohol is one of the most dangerous substances you can withdraw from as well. So I've done 7 detoxes today. As I said, really struggled with my addiction and my anxiety, which I still struggle to this day. But I think, back in 2020, one of the most difficult times for me, and that was a period when I'd relapsed during COVID. I couldn't get in a detox because beds, they had a reduction in beds for obvious reasons. And, I got to the point where I was drinking that much that I was told, I'd be lucky if I make it a few weeks, let alone a few months, because my body was shutting down. I was passing blood, I wasn't holding down food. And this is just I wish this anxiety would bloody go away now. And this is me during COVID. As I say, this is the worst time. What I'd put myself through, what I put my family through is just absolutely ridiculous. So my maintenance weight is around 14.5 stone. I was down to probably just less than 10 stone here, down to skin and bone. I needed drinking my body to function. And I remember this because I've been through this that many times. I was asking my mum, where's my next drink coming from? Because I was that scared of going through withdrawals. My life was ultimately coming to an end here, but that's unfortunately, that's what addiction does to you. So frail, I struggled to stand up. Without that drink, I wasn't able to stand up because as I say, I was physical dependent. I needed it to function. But on a much brighter note, I finally got myself into a detox facility. So let me go on to the next screen. And because my alcohol had consumed so much of my time, I had a huge void to fill. And I moved across from a lake at the time called Holmworth Lake, a beautiful scenic lake in the Greater Manchester area. And I'd not been fishing for over 20 years, and that love of fishing had never left me. Got back into my fishing. I say got back into my fishing. At this point, I got some tackle. I started on the YouTube tutorials, the Facebook groups. At this point, I'd never even been out on the bank, and instantaneously I could see the benefits that I was getting. It was, that zest for life, that buzz back to want to, do something I've not felt in ages. And it was through talking to a friend, another angler, and just saying this is, one of the best things for my recovery and for my mental health I've literally ever done in my life. And I always say, and to this day, it's been better than any medications that I've been prescribed in the past, and I've been prescribed a lot, and talking therapies, but nothing quite compared to the simple act of getting out, going fishing. And I eventually got out fishing, pipe fishing in the middle of winter, and I didn't even catch at this point, and I was just absolutely loving what fishing was bringing to my life. So yeah, after this conversation, it was like clear to see what it was doing for me, and it was a light bulb moment. Well, if this is working for me, this will work for other people as well. So I thought, I'm going to go back home, set up a Facebook group. If it's, sharing my story, to break down that stigma, to show other people it's okay to talk about your mental health, addiction issues. But it was taking one other person out great, but it was taking a few other people out even better. And I went home and set up a Facebook group. The name Tackling Minds just came to me, without much thought really. And then, just went out to share my story on social media. And before you knew it, it just resonated with hundreds, thousands of people who were following the page within a matter of a few days. People who wanted to go fishing, organisations that wanted to come fishing, but people also wanting to come forward to give up the time, to volunteer, to give something back to the sport that had given them so much over the years. So at this point, I've not even got any fishing tackle, not even got a session under our belt as of yet, and I had a phone call from the Angling Trust, the UK governing body for fishing, to say they've been following the idea of Tackling Minds, and they'd like to support it. We think this could be a great initiative. They give us ideas how to get your funding, how to set it up as a company. But then there was one hurdle, which was you need to be what is called a level 2 angling coach for the legalities. So that's your first aid, your DBS, your safeguarding, etc. And so with the network I'd built, I managed to find a couple of level 2 coaches at that time to help run our first session. So our first session was with a group of school kids, neurodiverse, behavioural issues, and it was just an amazing session in Liverpool. The feedback we got from the teachers was never seen these kids sit down for the whole 2 hours and concentrate on the fishing. So yeah, it was a mega success, and from there on we started working with addiction services, army veterans with complex PTSD issues, and local mental health organisations as well. So I should have added this, but started Tackling Minds in September 2020, and in March 2021, after a conversation with my sister-in-law, I found out what was called social prescribing. Now, for those that don't know what social prescribing is, it's when a medical health professional, GP, a doctor, prescribes holistic activities as an alternative to medications, but also to complement existing medications as well. So I went home, did a bit of a Google search on, at this stage, fishing wasn't an official activity on the social prescribing scheme. And I just knew this would be a massive thing, just not only a good thing for angling and mental health, but a great thing for our organisation, but just fishing in general. At this stage, I contacted every GP, every NHS department within the country, thinking this could be a massive. At that stage, I was thinking a little bit too grand, and I wasn't inundated with requests to join. But yeah, finally got our first session underway with a local trust in the Greater Manchester area. but I knew that the story, just having fishing prescribed by the GP, would just be a massive thing just to promote and get a message out there, and rightly so. That was picked up by pretty much every major news outlet within the country, newspapers, magazines, television programs, and then as far as Europe and then the States, Australia, and to this day things just continue to gain momentum. And next week I'm doing an interview with the best-selling, but the biggest selling female magazine of all time in England next week. So it doesn't stop the publicity. And then we've got the scientific recognition, which I'm going to get into on the next slide. But the support from the wider community, the tackle trade, likes of Shimano, Angling Direct, Dynamite, Rapala, VMC over in England. And yeah, this has just been, the support's been overwhelming, but sort of the icing on the cake, I got a letter through the post off Buckingham Palace to say I've been chosen out of 5,000 people by King Charles as the coronation champion, and invited down to Buckingham Palace to collect an accolade. So me and my partner Jen, as you can see on the photo, went to Buckingham Palace suited and booted, and yeah, had lunch in presence of the King, which was, I'll always say it, that recognition as much as for the volunteers as it was myself. Without the volunteers, the organisation wouldn't be where it is today. But yeah, a really proud moment, definitely. So yeah, the research with Angling Direct and Anglia-Ruskin University was approached by, at the time, the CEO of Angling Direct, a gentleman called Andy Torrance, who'd been following the work Tackling Minds had been doing, to say that he'd been approached by Anglia-Ruskin University to be involved in the first peer-reviewed scientific research to find the link between fishing and improved mental and physical health. Now, at this stage, it was myself spouting on social media, and something I've been very relentless with my posting on social media to get that message out there. And so to have some evidence to be able to back up what we were saying was just like, I couldn't believe my luck, the organisation's luck, that we'd been invited to be involved in this. As you can see on there, some of the outcomes of this research, but anglers less likely to self-harm, report anxiety or attempt suicide. This just, again, gained massive attention, from the NHS, public health, and a lot of other organisations. But not only that, when Tackling Minds, obviously, we rely on funding for what we do. This has really strengthened our applications to have the evidence now to say why fishing is beneficial for your mental health. So, say 1,900 people took part in that research, and the majority of them coming as Tackling Minds users or service users or supporters of the organisation. So our impact, which we see literally on a daily basis, not just with our service users, but something before I started Tackling Minds, what I didn't realise is that's what you see the volunteers get from the organisation. And you'll find with our volunteers, most of them have lived experience, be it with mental health, addiction issues, and that strengthens what we try to do on the bank with the service users, especially that we work with. It gives people that, just makes more people feel at ease knowing that other people have been through similar issues than each other. But comments like, if it wasn't for Tackling Minds, we don't think we'd be here today. This has saved my life, this has transformed my life, which is, it's crazy to think that's what fishing and that social connection can do. But this video here I'm going to show you now just literally sums up what the organisation is about, what it stands for, and what it does. It's a lot.
For 8 years now I've been on my own, and it's not nice being on your own. You get depressed so easily, and since I've been fishing for the last few days, it's taken my mind off everything. I love it so much, it gets me out of the house where normally I'd be inside. It's a fantastic thing to do. I'd recommend it to every angler, or even if you're not an angler. It gets you out. You're with other people the people who are professional fishermen who help you, they do a fantastic job. And I really enjoy it so much.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
So, what does the future of tackling mines look like, and how can the tackle trade potentially support what we do? As I mentioned earlier, there is some support from the tackle trade. Just realised I did forget, Rather Outdoors did donate us some umbrellas, so thank you. There's some more support there, so thanks for that. So last year we worked with approximately 1,500 service users, of which similar numbers again for this year. What we've done now is create a blueprint of our current model, what we're running in the Northwest and the Greater Manchester area, which is running to like a brilliant standard. It's how do we then take this model then into other regions. Now, the demand we see on a national level from organisations, be it schools, mental health organisations, the NHS it's unbelievable. And individuals who are clearly struggling with their own mental health and whatever other issues they might be dealing with. As a predominantly volunteer-led organisation, and that will always be the case with Tackling Mines, it's how do we take this forward, and funding plays a huge part in what we're doing. And we know to be able to expand into the regions we're looking at, it's got to take some paid staff, salaried staff to be able to do that. But the point being, the potential we see, we know the organisation's got off fishing in general, not only to introduce people to fishing, our sport, our pastime, but to retain people, which then ultimately is going to have such a huge knock-on effect within the angling trade as well. So I do invite people from the tackle trade as a mutual benefit. How can we push this forward with the support and getting everybody to rally around to make, to reach the potential we know Tackling Mines has got, and is to support as many people as possible. But I think more importantly, there is potential there to get more people into the sport. But I think more importantly is an opportunity to save people's lives, transform people's lives. So yeah, thank you for listening.
Today, but sharing your history, what you've done, and I think something that you've been through. It takes a lot of courage to do that. I think not only have you done that and put on a presentation that's been absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.
You've done brilliantly, and all the things you've done.
Thank you.
If anybody's got any questions today, please feel free to ask them.
Brilliant, heartbreaking. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So don't get me wrong, I'm a scientist. I put my hat on and I have a question to you. And there could be other outdoor recreation activities that people can do, right? Observing birds or counting, whatever. Is there something specific to fishing that creates these benefits? Do we know something about that? Which is like the chase for the fish or the uncertainty of that sets angling apart from other things that you could do in the outdoors?
Yeah, it's definitely giving that sense of achievement, which, the result of that is giving people more confidence, catching a fish, setting up a fish, targeting species, it's that sense of achievement. But the biggest one we see I didn't realise this when I started the organisation, it was noted through something one of our volunteers said, is that fishing can be very much secondary. It's getting people out, having that social connection with people. A lot of the people we work with are, stuck indoors, they are suffering with depression, anxiety, whatever that may be. So to have volunteers, as I said in the presentation, with that lived experience to be able to, give people that space to open up on talking about their issues, which is half of the battle when it comes to mental health as well, as I'm sure a lot of you know. Did that answer your question? No, there's plenty. This research we did is literally just skimming the surface. there's so much more research that needs to be done in terms of this and, strengthening. It's clear to see it works. The medical professionals want to know how it works. So, yeah.
Absolutely great stuff. No, that's fantastic. Well, there's clearly a lot of interest in actually developing the further research on those particular areas. There's a question there from Willem.
Yeah, great story.
Thank you.
And I follow you on LinkedIn, so I really
Yeah.
like what you do. You talk about a kind of blueprint. Is this how you train people? How you, with all the experience that you've kind of, because this is in England possible, but in the Netherlands, in Germany or France, it's also possible. But is it easy to train someone to do it in the right way? Or how?
Yeah, so as I said as well, to be able to facilitate a course for legal reasons, you've got to be what's known as a lead angling coach, or it was a level 2 angling coach, just for all the legalities as mentioned. Now, we were solely relying on the Angling Trust to do that. I'm sure you know the Angling Trust being the governing body in the UK, to do these level 2s. And now what we've done, we've partnered with the Angling Trust, and now we're delivering our own in-house training. So we have what is called a Tackling Minds course tutor, who'll deliver a number of courses to bring people up to the speed. And as a level 2 angling coach, you have certain requirements of what is expected to you on the bank in terms of running the session from start to finish. Now, in terms of that blueprint, what you mentioned there is having the right resources. So from that community engagement, volunteer coordinating, project management, which at first and it still does to this day to some extent, is still falling back on myself, but it's now, we're holding people have job roles, specific job roles where people are accountable for certain things. Now, I would say it's documenting that and having that blueprint. How would this work in another area? So having a regional coordinator, somebody to oversee each different region. So yeah, if it doesn't happen now, it's never going to happen. As I say, the demand is unbelievable that we see. There are similar organisations that have set up similar initiatives on the back of what Tackling Minds achieved, which is amazing because ultimately more people are getting into fishing, but benefiting because of their mental health, which is what it's all, the reason I started it. I hope that answered your question.
That's great. Any other questions? Mark? There's a microphone just wheeling it on its way to you.
Thanks, hi. Really great for that. So, as well as my role as President of the European Anglers Alliance, I'm also head of fisheries at the Angling Trust. So, I'm well aware of the fantastic work. There was two things, one with my European hat on is there's a piece of work here, whether it's trade, whether it's the angling organisations, how we can scale this across Europe, how this can be used as a case study then, and then used in other parts of Europe. That's great. It is backed up with further research. A paper was done, I think at the University of Essex, on carp fishing.
ICARP, yes.
Yeah, ICARP. So we can make that available. I'm not quite sure whether some press are actually published yet, but we can let you know that and we can certainly link that round. And then there is another aspect as well that I've been involved in supporting another organisation on this, but this is on with the armed forces on combat PTSD. That's a very specialised area. It's not as like this at all. So the people I work with in there, I'm ex-forces, so people are very specialised. There are different ways of dealing with those people suffering from combat PTSD, which is probably the opposite you would use in circumstances like this. So there's a whole range of levels that can be supported through angling and the benefits of angling. One key thing I will re-emphasise what you said there was a lot of this is building community engagement with those people for mutual trust. That seems to me on these is the underlying thing that really helps people get better forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. David, thank you ever so much. It's a fantastic presentation that I think has been very inspirational
Thank
and
you.
I think very informative as well.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Following on from that,